up, everyone? How are you? I hope that you are doing well. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. If you are returning, thanks so much for returning and visiting and, having a sit here. Okay, so if you're listening to this on the podcast, be sure that you click the bell so that you can get notified when new uploads come through. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hey, all right, make sure y'all write down the recipe. Make sure, if y'all have any questions, make sure you ask those questions. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, and I know at the beginning of the year, on the first actually, maybe it's the second, I had posted on YouTube on my community page that I will be returning like around January 16th. But I changed my mind once I really got into Capricorn season and Aquarius season. I don't know, my peopling skills dwindle down significantly come the wintertime, especially during those particular zodiac seasons. Like, I don't really be into the entertainment of things, so I took a break. I took some time and I'm feeling deeply rested and, well protected. So a lot of things have come up and we'll get into that. But first, for this video, we are making some chicken and rice and some chicken flautas, taquitos, rolled tacos, whatever you want to call it. I will say that initially, when I started, I was like, dang, I should have used some corn tortillas and everything like that. And I mean, corn tortillas definitely would have been good, but everybody really enjoyed the flour tortillas here. So, flour or corn will work well with these flautas. Okay, I'm calling them flautas, but Sharp was calling them burrito flautas. Okay, so that's what we're going to call them today. And also, I do want to say that while I was rolling the flautas is when the chicken and rice was cooking. I know in the video, as you continue to watch it, it looks like I did all that first and then I did the chicken and rice. But after I cooked the chicken breast, then I started on the chicken and rice. And while that was cooking in the pan, I started on the rolling of the flautas and frying them and everything like that. And by the time I was done with that, everything was ready. So it worked out. I would definitely serve this next time with, like a little small salad. I did serve, I had mine. I dipped them in some sour cream. Next time I'm going to make a sauce. Everybody was like, you don't need a sauce because they're good like this. But, I like to add the extra pizzazz for me. My taste buds be wanting lots of things, okay? So, what else? I think that's it for that. So, majority of the video, you will be seeing me break down this chicken. It took me a minute to post this video. I had actually had a whole chicken from out our meat box about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I recorded the video, but I didn't share it because, for one, I cooked it differently than what I intended on, which was this. And then I'm not sure what happened to this chicken in the process of, becoming food. But its leg was dislocated from the thigh, and I was just, I'm picky, y'all. All right. I was just like, But we actually had another chicken that was in the freezer, and I used that one. So that didn't come out the meat box. So this chicken that you're seeing broken down here didn't come out the meat box. Also, another note, I don't have my butcher's knife with me right now. So I just used the knife I had available that I felt was going to be comfortable in my hand in doing this. And it's really best to use a sharp knife when butchering a chicken or any meat for that matter, any boned in protein. because you want to be able to get through the skin and get through the joint with a glide, and I had to do a little sawing here, which, I mean, it got the job done. But again, I'm particular and it kind of got on my nerves. Either way, everything came out really good. If you do choose to make this, I hope you enjoy this recipe. Let me know. And yeah, that's all for the food. But let's go ahead and get into it. Okay? Yes. So, how have y'all been? How has your winter been? Pisces season shows up and I'm already feeling the spring vibes for real. Like, I'm not necessarily ready to be like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. But definitely the awakening is being felt. It's like my soul is being activated to move about, to be present, And it could also be because, I should say, the fact that I have a Pisces sun in Vedic astrology can play a role in that as well. Who knows? No telling. But yes, I figured I need to go ahead and just do what it is I say I'm going to do, right? And not hold back, not hold off any longer, because I wouldn't have came back till spring. And spring, I got something else planned to be showing up with. So I had to pick and choose. I had to be wise with my moves. All right. So yeah, it's been a minute. And over this time, I have been, just really being with myself. The sun goes into Capricorn. It crosses over 4 planets. I got my sun and some other outside planets. Okay. And it's just all the things, all the healing be commencing. It be real wintertime when it's wintertime for me, and then in Aquarius season, it's really only about close relationships. I have Aquarius in my 7th house, which is the house of relationships. So I'm just very Aquarian like that, like out of sight, out of mind. If it's not an everyday thing, if I'm not close to you in that nature, you're probably not going to hear from me much, see anything from me much, But through this, I was like, you know what? This fits because, what was it, last year or the year before last? I think it was last year. During the fall, I felt this transition. I was like, I can't be putting all this energy into this like this. And, I just need a break. And I just had to accept how in tune and in alignment I am when it comes to the nature of the seasons. All right. I think we all express the seasons and as the sun moves through the zodiac personally in some kind of way, but it's all in a matter of paying attention and being aware of what's taking place, right? Sure, having your birth chart can be helpful, but you don't really need that out of the fact that you can see how you responding and showing up during a particular sun season, zodiac season. We have all the signs. We have all the signs expressing in many ways, and we have the ability to learn how that expresses through us by simply paying attention. All you gotta do is pay attention. Okay, so throughout this time, oh man, so much has come undone. Mercury went into retrograde. I got back heavily into my conjuring. Because for a minute, I was like, I'm gonna take a break from this. I don't know. And this, that, and the other. Like, I kind of got distant from it. And then Mercury went into retrograde and was like, ma'am, what are you doing? You're going to do this, right? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what we're here. This is what's happening for us. So I got back into that. And when I did, even when it was just a thought in my mind, I felt so alive and grateful and so much love. And it's a beautiful thing for me. It's not for everybody, but for me, it is that. So through that, I started opening back up to different things, pulling some stuff out that I had put away, And one week, something in reference to role models had came up. And I had a hard time connecting with that because I was like, I don't have no role models. I don't be looking at people like that. Like, congratulatory in reference to people, inspired by people, like, wow, that's beautiful, that's amazing. But I'm not inspired to do what they're doing or how they're doing it. And that's really what a role model is, for real. Someone you're looking at and you seek to model their role. And I just didn't have nobody like that. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. And I left it alone. And then as the days passed, like, I started having some conversations with my mother, and it triggered something in me. I was reminded of something. So when I was a little girl, I was about, 5 or 6 maybe. My mom and some of my aunts, a couple of my aunts, and sometimes my grandmother, we would go visit this woman on the weekends because that was the days that my mother was off. And her name was Miss Susan. And Miss Susan inspired me so deeply at such a young age that I had no clue of what I was actually absorbing, what I was actually taking in at that time, and the feelings it was that I was having. This was a woman in Kinder, Louisiana. If you don't know where Kinder is, it is on the west end of Louisiana. It is in Allen Parish. It is also east of Lake Charles, west of Opelousas and Ville Platte. I don't know if that will make anybody understand what that is. So if you've ever heard of the Grand Casino Coshada, they really only have commercials for that in Louisiana or like in the Gulf area of Texas. The southern Gulf, Southeast Texas area, because that's what it's closest to. And it's the largest casino resort in Louisiana. It has everything, okay? You take the whole family there, it has everything. And that's where she lived. That we would drive down there and go visit her. And y'all, it would be a plethora of people parked in her front yard waiting to see her. Okay, we would go in there and my mother would give her $20 and she would put $20 in her Bible with all the rest of the $20 bills that she had in her Bible from all the people who had came seeing her that day. Her sons would operate what was going on outside, paying attention to who pulled up first and everything. And we used to be out there for hours some days, and that's because she did not rush. She took her time. Everybody was just as important as the next, And I remember her so thoroughly. She was so beautiful. Creole looking lady with, shoulder length, black hair, had such soft, buttery skin, okay? It was so soft. She was, very, she was plush, very big mama in her nature, and I was filled so much in those visits, and we would go and see her. And there's one time, or maybe it was like a couple times we went there, because I remember I think my mom had asked about it once before, and she was telling us about how it was this doll that had been walking around in the neighborhood. And I know you hear that and you're like, what? But if you've ever heard of spirit dolls, like, that's a real thing. And she had gotten it and basically like cleansed the spirit up out of the doll. And she had it in her home, and it was laying on a corner in her home, and she had a blanket over it. And I remember I asked her, I was like, can I see it? And she was like, no, baby, you can't see that. Whatever, she wouldn't show it to me. So I was like, all right. But I remember being in her house, and it was so spirit-filled on so many levels, in so many ways. And as I think back about it, like, I remember the feeling, that I had there. And when she told us about that doll, like, I did get a little spooked, but I was very intrigued. I was so curious, like, what? I asked her, can I see it? And she's like, no. But, we would go in there, and she would talk to my mother. My mother would tell her what's going on, and she would give her insight, guidance, clarity. She would pray over us. She would cross us up with some holy water, some anointing oil. Okay, it was the real. It was the real. And what it brought me back to was everything just kind of came together, because we see a lot of the spiritual stuff going on the internet. And there are some people who are very legit in their plight, and this is nothing against any of them. But it's like, what was taking place? How were people being known at a time where the internet didn't exist? When I was 5, this is like the early 90s, 5, 6, early 90s. It was no internet. It was barely a cell phone, and the cell phones they had, it was them huge ones, like with antennas that you could only use in the car. Okay, so these things didn't exist, and we actually came about her from my father. He found her. I'm not sure how. I know he used to go to the casinos often. It could have been him just knowing somebody in kinder. Like, my dad's an Aquarius, so he connects with people very easily, and so with that, that started that. I remember the rides there, going across the Yellow Bridge into Louisiana, leaving and stopping at the gas station and getting some boudin on the way home, because I'd be starving, because we'd be starving. My little cousin used to be with us too, and granted, of course, this shows you how different of a time it was, because ain't nobody buying boudin from out the corner store, all right, anymore. Okay, so yeah, it was just something to remember. And Miss Susan was a role model for me. She has always been a role model for me, but I forgot it. I didn't remember it. Life happens. You grow up and you connect with people, and you begin to get into different things, and you learn stuff about yourself, or you have experience that are trying to teach you something about yourself, whether you're paying attention to it or not, and then you're going through experiences that are consistently trying to wake you up, right? Consistently trying to get you to align to your soul's calling, your soul's path. Okay. And I had talked to a good friend of mine recently, one of my best friends, and, I was talking to her about this, and she was like, she's like, I really see that in you, just with everything it is that you already do. She's like, and that's something that you deeply desire to do, to pray for people and help them and get manifesting their lives in the way that they want, through the means that you have. And when she said that, I was just like, wow, yeah, you never realize how influenced you are being by certain people who come in your life. Miss Susan has long passed since now. She actually passed back in, I think I was 21, 22, which is interesting, because when she passed, like, I didn't know about it. I didn't find out till recently that she had passed, but that time was kickstarting everything in my life, and me being here where I am now, things I do, the stuff I'm into. And I was like, wow, so is it true that when people pass that have played an influential role in your life, that in some aspect their wisdom comes and enlivens within you? And I don't know if this is true, but this is just from a personal experience, and I'm just sharing this, y'all. Okay, and I was really inspired, so deeply, to the fact that I grew up to be 33 years old and be like, wow, like, I want to be like Miss Susan, right? And it's not about the plethora of people that came to her, because she used to do this pretty much every day, all right? And the parking lot used to be full on a Saturday, and it used to be full on a Tuesday, okay? It didn't matter what day it was. People was coming because they knew they could trust her, right? Her spirit spoke for her. Her presence spoke for her. Her gentleness. She's so gentle, so kind. It all spoke for her. And there was a deep trust there, right? It was an unspoken trust. Although I wasn't showing it, I knew that when we was going to see Miss Susan, like, I would get excited. I would be like, oh, okay, we're about to... The only thing I would be feeling some kind of way about that, we was about to be in a car for like 2 hours until we got in to see her, and then it was going to be a car full of us, all right? So not only did the people there have to be seen, but the people in the car individually had to be seen as well. So it's just things have been coming together for me, and just seeing everything, the clarity, the path, the inspiration, the roles, with no acting, right? Of just being, just showing up like, hey, yep, So that's really where I've been all these months, which ain't been long. It's only because the last time I think I shared something was in December, so about 2 months. It's about to be March. It's February 23rd today. And I initially wanted to share this yesterday, but, editing, it takes time. I got to take my time with these things, all right? So that's what's been going on. And, just really feeling very secure and knowing that, and it's so interesting, before I go, I have not been on any social media, y'all. Like, if I get on Instagram, it's because I'm checking messages. Somebody sent me a message, and then sometimes it's days before I actually get around to sending a message, because sometimes Instagram don't be notifying me of my messages. I have not been on Facebook unless I'm looking for something. Like, I'm not scrolling. Like, it's a lot of stuff I have not been doing. Like, I've really changed what I've been giving my energy to and what I've been letting feed into me, so... If you've been posting stories, been posting, making posts, I ain't been seeing them. And it's not for no other reason outside of the fact that I just been to myself, minding my business, and really getting to the root of things and, really enjoying life for real. Like, life has been feeling good and getting over some burnout, okay? Because I started talking about being burnt out, I think, last year. And it wasn't until this year that I actually realized what the source was. And it wasn't anything about what I was actually doing, but where I was doing it from, the mind in which I was holding of myself and doing it. The people pleasing, if I don't do it this way, then it's not going to work out, or a person is going to think this particular thing. But I did not realize. That's the thing. I didn't realize that I was coming from that place. I wasn't consciously seeing it that way, because I don't consciously see things that way. It was a subconscious pattern, a fixed subconscious pattern that I have been holding on to for however long, maybe forever, and having to come up out of it, having to really see the truth of that, and so that I could let go. Right, in all areas, because when I say that I had been exhausted, it was an understatement. It was like any little thing, and it didn't really hit me deeply up until Capricorn season came. I was just like, whoa, what is this? Like, it almost took the wind out of me, and I realized, like, like, look at what you've been doing. Look how you've been doing it. Like, it's not necessarily about what you're doing, but where you're doing it from, and what you're concerned about, right? concerned about what somebody thinking about you, concerned about anybody at all. And it hasn't been as conscious. This thing is very subconscious, because that's the thing. I've had a lot of experiences throughout my life to always trigger a need to care about what somebody thinks. All right, but this was simply trying to wake me up into being myself, to doing what I do confidently, without question, and not caring, And that process, it took some time. It took me to unravel, and who knows, it may have happened a little sooner if I wasn't, tending to my son every day, or, taking care of a home every day. But it still in itself was showing up in that. And it is the place that you are every day, all the time, that's going to show you exactly where something is and where it's coming from. But again, you got to be paying attention. You got to be willing to open your eyes and see, right, and ask the right questions, and be ready for the answer that it's going to give you. If you're not ready for the answer, then it's going to be difficult, right? It's going to continue to come up until you get to the point that you're like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, what is happening here? And however you choose to go about that, like, that's on you. Can't nobody really tell you. There is no right way. Like, literally all roads lead to Rome. All right. Despite however you feel about what somebody else is doing, you can't control how they need to go about something for their life. All right. If you don't like it, go away. Like, don't involve yourself. It's really that simple. You don't have to be part of it. And that's it, and that sounds like just very simple, but it is that simple. It's up to us to come up out our bag of whatever we have piled upon, of why we think we should be feeling this way, like why we think it's our business, And there is this quote by Rumi that I had read yesterday. And he says, what did he say? Yesterday I wanted to change the world, but today I'm wise, so I changed myself. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but just go look up Rumi quotes and you will find it. Okay, and that's truly the case. If you want to change the world, if you want to change your world, you must change yourself. And the self in which you choose to recognize is what is going to echo in your reality. It is dependent upon you. That means getting away from what you don't need to be around, involving yourself of what it is that you should be, and a lot of times that calls for going into the void. But you can only spend so much time in the void, because eventually you then have to begin to fill it with something that will echo into your world how you want it to. The void is great for healing. It's good for rest. It's great for seeing, to see the light within you, in your world. But eventually you have to come up out of there and begin to fill it up with something that is good for you, what is right for you, whatever that means. Like, I'm not encouraging to do things that I will never encourage to do anything that is detrimental to you, to yourself, to your reality, to the people around you. But it is important for you to take care of yourself and know what is yours, what is right for you, and doing that abundantly, effortlessly, in the spirit of you, whatever that means. You guys, so yes, I'm about to close this out. And as I do, I would like to say all praise and adoration to Miss Susan, and all the inspiration and all the insight and the guidance, okay, and the love that her influence has put and been placed into my life, provided for my life, okay. And I hope you guys have a really good weekend. I will talk to y'all soon. I'm about to get going with things, and I have some new things that I'll be sharing come the spring, March 21st, okay? And I love you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And that is all for now. All the blessings to you and yours.